is limited. I am not questioning your wisdom, O Allah. I am questioning my wisdom. And I trust you, O Allah, you will make things better for me. This is patience. Your attitude, your optimism, your iman, your words that you say, the actions that you do. We are prohibited in Islam from wailing and grieving, from beating ourselves when somebody dies. This is all haram. When somebody passes away, we demonstrate patience. When we lose a job, when any calamity happens, when we're in grief, we need to master ourselves. And remember what our Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. Memorize this hadith, brothers and sisters, because patience, according to this hadith, is demonstrated at the first stroke of calamity. Patience is demonstrated at the first stroke of calamity. I.e., when you hear the news, how do you react? That is your patience. Everybody becomes patient in 2 years, in 2 months, in 2 days. Everybody becomes patient. You have to deal with it. True patience is demonstrated when? As soon as you find out the news, as soon as you hear that big disaster, what will be your reaction? إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. Sabr is demonstrated at the stroke of calamity. And in order to prepare yourself for that stroke, you need to master patience. Patience is not learned after the calamity happens. Patience has to be earned before, so that when the calamity strikes, you are able to control yourself in a patient manner. And hence, my dear brothers and sisters, we get back to the issue of fasting, because fasting is what allows us to master our patience. Fasting is when we withhold ourselves from that which is necessary to live. Our food, our drink on this hot day, we are mastering that which is necessary in order to demonstrate to Allah, if I can live without food and water, then I can live without committing sins. If I can live without food and water, then I can live without wailing and groaning and moaning. If I can live without food and water, then I can live without disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are mastering day by day, night by night, every single day. We're honing in, and that is why just fasting will perfect half of patience. Of course, not all of it, because there are other things that need to be done as well. But just the act of fasting will get us 50% of the reality of patience. And my dear brothers and sisters, realize as well that patience is so beloved to Allah, that of the names of Allah is the one who is patient. As-Sabur. Of the names of Allah is As-Sabur. So Allah characterized Himself with that attribute that He loves so much. And how is Allah As-Sabur? Our Prophet ﷺ gave just one example. Just one example. And of course this name is a whole khutbah in and of itself. He said, Allah, there is no one who is more asbar than Allah. No one has more sabr than Allah. His servants deny Him, curse Him, reject Him. People negate Allah's existence. People say bad things about Allah. And yet He continues to provide for them their needs, their food, their drink, their merriment. SubhanAllah, if somebody says one half bad phrase about us, we abandon him for years. If we hear on the rumor grapevine that somebody has disparaged us, khalas, all good is cut off. Allah Azza wa Jal hears His servants saying such things about Him, rejecting Him, mocking Him, denying Him. And yet look, He is providing for all of them. That's one of the manifestations of His name, As-Sabur. That's one of the manifestations of Allah's sabr. And that is a divine characteristic that we are told to emulate as much as we can. That when something happens, we as well turn the other cheek. We as well demonstrate our patience. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. Their reward for having been patient was to enter Jannah and to taste all of the blessings of Jannah. So indeed, let us think about the reality of sabr as we go through this month. Let us master sabr one bit at a time. Let us appreciate that one of the goals of fasting is to master at least half of this beautiful concept of sabr. May Allah make us amongst those who are patient. Barakallahu wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Azim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bima fihi min al-ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Aqulu ma tasma'un wa astaghfirullah al-Azim li wa lakum wa li sa'il muslimin kulli dhanbin fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. الحمد لله الواحد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد وبعد. Can I ask the brothers to move forward? There are people outside and we don't want to have anybody outside today, so squeeze in as much as you can. Scholars have mentioned that patience is of three types. There are three types of patience, my dear brothers and sisters. The first type of patience, which is the lowest level is to demonstrate patience when a calamity afflicts you. This is the lowest level because it's out of your control. You cannot dictate your circumstances. You lose a job, financial catastrophe, the death of a loved one. You cannot dictate it. So to demonstrate patience here means what? You control your tongue and you have an optimistic attitude with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't have to understand. You can feel sad. It's human nature to feel sad. You can cry, you can grieve, but you cannot question the wisdom or the mercy or the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot question it in your heart, much less verbalize it in your tongue. So patience here means to control even your thoughts. Even your thoughts need to be controlled at a time of calamity, and especially your tongue. And you do not question the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the lowest level of patience. And it is one that indeed Allah Azza wa Jal mentions that this is one of those levels that whoever masters it has, and especially at the death of a loved one. Our Prophet ﷺ mentioned that of the greatest calamities, and there are many ahadith about this, is to lose a young one, a child, is to lose a child. And that is why losing a child and being patient is automatically linked to being entered into Jannah. There are many ahadith about the one who is patient